See?
Alrighty, ladies, gentlemen, gender neutral, whoever is watching, what is going on? Prototype Virgo here with the gang. You already know what it is. I've got a wonderful 10 panelists here to show you absolute cancer in a One Piece versus Dragon Ball debate. Headache warning was in the title, as you know. And so we see who actually has the better series. Who do you think is going to be the better debaters? This is going to be fun. People are saying it's a wash on both ends, but we're going to see who wants to start it off.
Dragon Ball some mid.
All right.
All right, go ahead. Let him start off.
Nah.
Let's go ahead. I
Have
want
to
to see
make
the
that
main
comment.
points.
You know what I'm
Let's
saying?
do it.
Nah. I have to make that comment.
No, we're not backtracking now. We just started.
Yeah, you already started talking.
I want to hear this blasphemy, man. Alright.
Let's go. Explain.
Yeah, tell me about that brain bug
Dragon Ball
juice.
some mid, bro.
Yeah.
It's literally carried by nostalgia.
Explain it. That's cool and all, but I'm asking you to explain that. Why is it mid?
Why is it mid? Storytelling is all over the place. It's literally the same thing every single arc.
Storytelling.
They fight the bad guy.
Come on, Fiji. Come on.
They fight another bad guy who's stronger. It's enjoyable to watch sometimes, but it's nothing. And you know this.
So your problem is with storytelling.
Storytelling, just the system of the story is literally the same thing again and again. It's repetitive.
It's repetitive. That's what he's saying.
It's repetitive.
Like with
okay,
One Piece, you can argue One Piece is repetitive, 100%.
Go to an island,
but
kill a
but the thing with One Piece is at least the repetition is it makes sense. Like with Dressrosa and Alabasta, you can basically say that's a direct mirror, but it makes sense.
Wait, is that
it
just
ties
being,
into the story.
So you think after we saw the potential of the Logias, even to this day, we have people arguing saying that the whole Alabasta incident with Luffy beating Crocodile, with him punching him through something that's harder, or like Bedrock being claimed to be the hardest thing ever. You don't think a lot of people still disagree upon that? That if Crocodile should not have been beaten at that point. Do you know that
that's not One Piece with Dragon Ball. That's just that's a whole nother conversation for another day. That's obviously poor writing, isn't it? He never saw 5-6 years into the future where he was going to introduce Haki and whatnot. I don't know what he had in mind, but come on, it's hard to write a 22-year-old series. How long is Dragon Ball?
But you can't give him he decided to choose to make this story this long, correct? Like you can't give him the pass for not explaining that storytelling. I agree with you. Dragon Ball story writing is flawed. I will agree with you. Like especially with the Majin Buu saga, you can see a steady decline in terms of how the story is portrayed. But to give Oda a pass just because he's in the long run for this that's not a good excuse.
I think everything from Whole Cake Island till now has been mid, to be honest. I'm just saying, overall, in terms of storytelling, I feel like Oda is leagues ahead of Toriyama.
Yeah, story. Okay, I'll agree with that point. Though.
In terms of enjoyment, that's personal preference. In terms of
story, I do agree. But all right, fair enough.
Because look at Dragon Ball. Is there a certain? Go on.
Oh no, I was just saying. I feel like what you're saying though about Dragon Ball being bad, is literally the exact same as One Piece. Like One Piece has the same formula, which is go on an island, right? There's a distress call.
Luffy says, "I'm going to kick this guy's butt."
Mm-hmm. Nope. You find one. Well, basically, but you find one character that's like the neutral character, right? Like Rebecca, you rescue them like a Disney princess, and then you go find the bad guy. Luffy's like, "Oh my god, I can be a hero now." And they end the arc with like a festival or like
and you forget and
they beat the bad guy.
Yeah, and to add on to that point, you forgot that on every island has some terrible dark secret underneath.
Exactly. Every single time. 90% of the arcs end that way. But with Dragon Ball, if you really examine the arcs, going back to the very beginning, first arc, adventure arc, next arc, that's a tournament arc, and the next arc, Goku's fighting an army. Go back to Z, Namek. Aside from the fact that they're both fighting opponents of increasing power, the Android Saga and the Namek Saga progress very differently and are about different things. So you can't say that it's competitive. Same with the Blue arc.
And that's the main problem when people misunderstand about
how the character powers up.
That's the main problem people misunderstand.
I think you're not being fair to. I feel like when you're saying that you're not being really fair to One Piece, because it's not like that all the time. Like even in Water 7, we've seen, it's not the people that they were against were the people like they thought were their friends, the people that were trying to help their ship like build that shit. Like they didn't just come out of nowhere and just help the same.
I agree, but like the statement is like of course every arc is going to be differences, but like like CGK said, it's rinse and repeat. They show up, they beat the bad guy, hooray, country saved, Luffy's a hero.
I mean,
okay, what was impelled down? What was Marine Ford?
That's the
but that's why we're saying it happens in both series. That's what we're trying to say. Yeah, but the thing is, I think the repetitive factor he's talking about happens in both series.
But the repetitive factor in One Piece, I agree, it is prevalent. It's definitely there. But the thing within One Piece is that's the formula, and the fact that Oda sticks to it is actually good for the story because he doesn't stray from that formula, and it is good. Every arc is enjoyable in its own way, even though they are quite similar to a sense.
What about okay? Wait. So in terms of by beating the bad guy, like even in terms of Dragon Ball, like there's a huge misconception that Goku's always the one to do it when he doesn't. That is the huge misconception. That is repetitive. That Goku comes and saves the day all the time. That's not how it works. Whereas in One Piece's case, as long as we're with the Straw Hats,
there's only a handful of areas where Goku literally didn't beat the bad guy.
That literally is the case for majority of the story.
With Vegeta, it took his son, or like Krillin. Okay, cool. But what happened on Namek? It was Goku who beat Frieza, right?
He didn't beat Frieza. Frieza was alive afterwards. What do you mean?
He defeated the end of our villain. Stop it.
I agree that he beat Frieza.
He beat Frieza. Stop it, Mo.
I didn't say kill him. I said he beat him.
Who beat Cell? Who beats Cell? Gohan, right?
Gohan.
But in One Piece, who beats the main villain of the arc every
single time?
Whose
help did Gohan need, though?
I was about to get to that. Every island we go to, who's the main hitter for beating the main boss of the island we're on? Who's always the one to beat him?
Yeah, when is Zoro ever beating the main villain?
They don't always beat
Fishman Island.
They don't always beat the villains. They don't always beat the villains in that arc. Like Sabaody, they didn't make it out beating them.
Exactly. Marineford was literally the biggest L.
Luffy lost.
Luffy lost.
He technically lost an impel down too.
Luffy had to run away.
Aside
from got bodied as well.
Amazon Lily was totally different than like Alabasta, totally different.
That's a different argument entirely because, like you're saying, like sharing the spotlight. Goku shares the spotlight. Zoro has never beaten the main villain of an arc, and you're going to say Hody Jones, but then I could say Vegeta beat second form Cell, so that's just being disingenuous. When has Zoro ever beaten the main villain of an arc, or Sanji, or Usopp for that matter?
I feel like you're skipping the other point of
this nigga Kichi
literally not beating the main villains of those arcs sometimes, like Sabaody. We just mentioned fucking Impel Down Marineford.
I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah, but the crazy thing too, these are all situations when the Straw Hats are separated. Like for example, like if you give me any arc where the Straw Hats are together, it's always Luffy beating the main dude on that island all the time. That formula never changes. Luffy comes on this island.
It does. The biggest saga in One Piece, the most important part of One Piece, is literally completely different to that formula. It's the biggest L in the series.
What is the biggest arc in
the Saving Ace saga? Was
the Paramount War saga.
The Paramount War was the biggest saga in One Piece, and they lost.
And it went from Sabaody. Sabaody, they took it L. Then it goes to Amazon Lily.
But we're following a story. But this story is the Straw Hats adventure. We're following a story revolving around the Straw Hats. Mm-hmm. And I just said currently that I just gave you that point. Aside from Sabaody and Marineford, and maybe even Boa's Island when everybody's on their own island.
And Reverie.
Anytime we're sailing with Straw Hats and we go to an island, Luffy's meeting up with people he thinks are his friends. He meets this little girl in most cases. Discovers that there's a dark secret and says, "I'm going to kick this guy's butt." It always happens that way.
I agree.
I agree.
One Piece has got that formula. It's repetitive, just like Dragon Ball Z is. But the thing with Dragon Ball Z is it's boring, repetitive. Whereas with One Piece, you enjoy it. It's a formula that's boring.
You got to come.
Explain that.
We got to come a little harder than that.
It's subjective.
But that is subjective. We got to come harder than that.
Listen.
If we want to talk about something, we need to move on from that point because the repetitiveness, both things have it. So we're going to move on to something that we can start. So we can move on to something where we can start. So wait, hold on. So we can move on to something where we can start. Wait a moment. So we can move on to something where we start polarizing each series, right? So let's talk about world building.
Okay, there's no point. There's no point in getting into that. That's just unfair for Dragon Ball Z, bro.
In what regard? I feel like Dragon Ball Z. If Dragon Ball Z can up the ante, they can say something.
We agree. World building isn't as big as One Piece.
Y'all have nothing to say.
characters is one that I want to go through because I think characters are very flawed in One Piece,
Be
and
my
it's
guest.
my favorite series, and it's my biggest problem with it. So,
Be my guest.
character-wise, I think One Piece characters are very flawed. Like the Straw Hats post time skip have barely had any characterization. It's just been repeated gags, and I've been pretty bored of it. I'm not gonna lie.
Like, what do you mean? Give me a specific example, though. Like what do you mean they're flawed?
Brooke has said, "Can I see some panties?" more than he said anything else in the series. Zoro's always
Guess
getting
his
lost.
fetish, though.
Okay,
Guess
but
his fetish.
but it's not going anywhere.
Wait, Alfie, aren't you supposed to be on the One Piece side?
You think
I
fetish
am on the
need
One
to
Piece
go?
side, but let me get
That's
to
just the power of Dragon
Let me
Ball.
get to it. I'm gonna drag down One Piece.
Shut up.
No. No, I'm gonna drag down One Piece, and then I'm gonna tell you that Dragon Ball Z characters are way more boring, bro.
That's the point. Here's the thing for me. Like,
that's completely subjective.
Yeah, explain why they're bad characters. Don't say they're way more boring.
see, I think one thing that you all will agree on is that One Piece has this mystery, and then each arc, some part of that mystery is revealed. In Dragon Ball Z, there is no such mystery. Like
that's another problem. Yeah.
Just for the sake of
that's a part of world building. We just agreed that world. We just gave you all that point. We agreed that world building.
No. He's saying even within.
I totally disagree with that.
He's saying even within.
Go ahead, Wobble.
Yeah, he's saying even within like the characters and shit. Like look at Nami, right? When we just met Nami and shit, we didn't know much about her, and then she started acting fishy and shit. When we got closer and closer within the East Blue Saga. Yeah. And then we found out that she had this whole thing with Arlong. Right?
What about Trunks? What about Piccolo when we first meet him? What about those mysteries?
Yeah, we can talk about Trunks. Trunks' introduction is one of the greatest in any shonen manga or piece of anime ever, because you have a situation. I agree. You have a situation where you just come from an arc where the legend Goku achieving Super Saiyan has been like prophesized. That's it. Frieza's alive, coming to Earth for revenge. The consequences of one arc comes and harms the friends of Goku in the next. And on top of that, he's coming with his dad. Then a random stranger shows up. Goes Super Saiyan, starts giving Frieza PTSD, literally PTSD, and neck dips both of them, unveiling that this arc, he comes here with a message saying that I'm from the future. There is a storm coming. You guys need to prepare. And when you see, like, why are we going to go into, I guess, movies, I guess?
Movies? What's up, Big News? What's up, JD?
Big news.
This guy pulled up with them.
Like, sort of like in 2 episodes.
And you see that throughout the arc. Like Future Trunks breaks the mold of what a traditional Saiyan is, how I'm literally just in it for the thrill of the fight. Because of Trunks growing up in that timeline for 13 plus years, in a timeline where all he knew was destruction and death. Any situation you see happen with him, where it's even with Cell, when Vegeta literally tells him, "Aren't you interested to see how powerful Cell can get?" Trunks literally tells him, "I've seen that my whole life. I don't want to see that." And he even attempts to go and try to hurt his father. You see all the consequences from his previous backstory come in full fruition when you see it play out throughout the entire Cell saga, or Android saga, rather. Like, he is an amazing character, and he's not even the best. He's not even the best in Dragon Ball.
See, I think when Cell Saga happened.
What? Wait, big news. Before you make your point, Big News and JD, what side are you guys on?
As far as
One Piece versus Dragon Ball, as a story as a whole.
Fights definitely on Dragon Ball side.
No, overall, entirely. Pick one.
Oh, One Piece, what the fuck?
Thank you, Big News. That's a low div. That's a low div.
What about you, JD?
So can I get more?
Explain as well. Let me explain as well. Let me say one point.
Can I get more? Virgo, can you hear me? Because I just want to get more context. This is Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, GT, everything combined.
Everything Dragon Ball except for movies.
As an overall,
I would say everything except for GT.
As an overall,
okay. Story. If it was just Dragon Ball, then it would have the edge. But Dragon Ball Z and Super really.
Oh, just S.
Really
we're including Super and GT.
I thought you. No. I said everything but GT.
So everything but GT.
I didn't know we were including Super.
Because at the start of the string, like if anyone on the Dragon Ball side wants to use Super, I think me and Mo made it pretty clear that we're not.
We don't want to.
Okay, fine. Hold on. Wait, my bad. Hold on. So you want to do just Dragon Ball and just Dragon Ball Z?
That'd be like debating Naruto including Boruto, like with Dragon Ball Z.
Okay, I got you. That's fine. That's fine. Okay, guys, we all agree. Just Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Deal?
Dragon Ball,
Yes.
Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Super
No.
I
We're not doing all that.
It don't matter.
We're not doing all that. All right, so I can use Strong-Willed. Can I use One Piece
You can
Strong-Willed?
use whatever you want.
Is that what you're saying?
Luffy
being cheeky.
Let's just keep it.
It's not just. It's not just.
not
One
the
Piece.
biggest-
Understand something. So
The
we're
biggest
talking about characters and
mystery,
shit, right?
the biggest
We're talking-
mystery in Dragon Ball franchise is Mr. Popo.
That's not.
That's it.
If we're talking about the series,
I know that was a joke made like in jest, but people don't understand that like the mystery of Goku's like what Goku was. That was a big mystery in the story, and it was laid down. Like it was laid down in DB. Like again from the start, Negan turned to an ape. He's super strong. Like what's up with him? And niggas don't realize this, and I can post a panel if y'all don't believe me that in the Red Ribbon Army arc, when he's shown on the scanner, Goku is the biggest.
Spidey?
He stated that.
We can see
Let him finish. Let him finish.
I finish. In the Red Ribbon Army arc, which is like the second, third arc of Dragon Ball, he's scanned and it says he's an alien. So that right there is like, and most people don't even realize that. So that was set up for years later with the Raditz. We're like, oh, he's a Saiyan. So that's literally a secret that's literally the entire story in the making. It was given context like almost a decade before in the story of Vegeta.
Goku says it himself, talking about how his grandfather said, oh, my grandfather told me not to look at the full moon because in the full moon a monster comes out. Not understanding that's actually him the whole time. And even his friends don't speak up about it. They never speak up about it until the introduction of Z when Raditz lands on Earth. Like people
I
really
thought y'all weren't going to use
That's interesting. That actually makes
me
No. It's just
mystery.
We're talking.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I ask a question though? What is the point of Dragon Ball? When I read Dragon Ball Z, I feel like it's just a montage of this dude that saves people. I don't see no plot. It doesn't go forward.
Dude that saves people?
Yeah, that's literally what Goku is though. There's no real plot.
That just proves you have like a profound misunderstanding of Goku's character if you think it's just dude that saves people. Like Dragon Ball is a story about progression, getting stronger through conflict, and Goku himself isn't like before Luffy ever did it. Goku doesn't consider himself a hero. He cares more about fighting than helping people.
No, but he's so bland. He's so bland that you don't get that.
His goal.
You do need to understand. Wait. Okay. Let's talk about.
Get stronger. That's what you're saying.
Okay, but in the same aspect, this is a problem a lot of people forget is that in order to have a good character, they need to be overly complex and have something that makes them unique. That and also being relatable. That's one thing I've noticed about when people talk about characters in Dragon Ball versus any other series, the relatable factor. But in One Piece, you have Luffy. Luffy's goal is literally just like Goku's goal, just in a world of pirates.
Okay, I want to be the best pirate. No, explain that. I do not understand that, bro.
That was false.
I need an explanation there, bro. I really do.
You said what?
I need an explanation there, bro.
When has Goku ever said, I want to be the greatest fighter ever?
No. We're talking about in Goku's mindset. His whole thing about Goku, that's why they show the difference between him and Vegeta. His mindset is, I just want to progress as far as I can. It's testing my own limits. There's no end point for Goku. He just wants to get as strong as he possibly can. With Luffy, it's, I want to become Pirate King in a world of pirates. I want to be the best pirate out here.
He wants to be the freest pirate. And he doesn't want a boring adventure, my God. He
wants to be the freest pirate and surpass someone that was like a leader.
Literally, just go read chapter 500, and I think it's 503, and you'll see why Luffy and Goku are completely different. When he shouts at Usopp, Luffy and Goku are not the same. I hate people that say that he's a carbon.
Yeah, they're not the same. They're not the same.
They're not even close to being a carbon copy.
Basically, his point is Luffy has more reasoning to do what he's doing, like his goal and shit. He does, because Shanks, ever since Shanks passed that hat down to him, Luffy's ever since then, Luffy's wanted to become the Pirate King. And ever since then, he's wanted to surpass Shanks. He has more drive, more something to keep him going to become that. Goku himself, he just decided, I want to be strong. I want to be a strong fighter.
I mean, just because it's
I still don't understand what the problem with that is. Yeah, even then, he doesn't lose any motivation to do that. Any chance he gets, he's constantly training himself. And Goku at once has never doubted himself like Luffy has at one point in Saba Odi. Were me be Pirate King? Me?
Because Goku has never suffered a setback. Like Luffy,
He got obliterated by Vegeta. And he just wanted to fight him again. He wasn't set back at all.
Then he came back alive.
You're making it seem like that scene was a bad thing. That scene was actually a good thing because Luffy himself is questioning himself if he's even good enough.
No, but
hold on.
He more human, yo.
He couldn't even save his own brother. So he's asking to himself. He's thinking to himself, "Can I even be Pirate King at this point?" He's questioning.
The reason why I brought that
up. Goku never gets that kind of feeling. Like you never see that Goku.
The reason why I brought up that point. The reason why I brought up that point is because you said he never strays away from that aspect of wanting to be Pirate King. That's why I brought it up.
You said
that's exactly why I brought it up. You said he never strays away from that path of wanting to be Pirate King. When we literally had a whole,
he's a human.
That's not that. I get that, but that's not the point.
I actually agree.
That's not the point you guys were providing. You guys were saying his goal is to be Pirate King, and he's never strayed away from that path.
Exactly.
When we've seen that.
Said he didn't stray away.
People plenty of people never strayed away. He has more drive.
I don't want to be Pirate King anymore. When that happened,
you said what?
Did Luffy ever
never said that.
I don't care about being Pirate King anymore?
He said, "Pirate King, me, what a joke!" Like,
yeah, like that.
When did anyone say it?
But did he ever say, "I don't want to be Pirate King"?
No, I forgot who it was, but someone earlier said when we were talking about goals, like the overall, like the goal of that character, somebody brought up Luffy saying how he wants to be Pirate King, and even when he does that, he doesn't stray away from it. He doesn't stray from that path of trying to be Pirate King. That's why I brought up that point. I do like that point about when in Sabaody, when he's crying and tearing up, it's a show of conflict. Like maybe I can do this. That's cool, but I'm saying that's not the point. That's not the point we're arguing.
Yeah, we can get into other stuff later, but like he was just buffing that.
I was just rebutting to that point made earlier.
The point is,
and even
I don't
with
agree
Goku,
with
and the reason why I'm saying that's actually what makes Goku a lot different from other shonen characters is even it's stated multiple times that even when he's in a state of conflict, he still enjoys about how he can still progress himself. When he's outclassed by Vegeta, when he's outclassed by Vegeta, you see him literally dead on the ground. He literally says, before Vegeta showed up, I thought I had reached my peak. I thought that was it. But to see that a guy like this exists, then it shows that I still have a long way to go. You even see when Frieza makes the claim that all I need is 50% of my power to beat you. Goku, while getting his butt knocked around, is still amazed and shocked that, wow, this guy wasn't bluffing. Like,
and I can use the same argument that when Luffy got obliterated by Aokiji, he literally tells Bruno, I'm glad I ran into you guys and Admiral and the Admiral because I developed a new technique.
Yep.
I can literally bring that up too. So
I mean that's true, but we were talking about their main driving goals and like
we're talking about like Luffy, you're not understanding where go ahead.
Yeah, Luffy, the big goal, Luffy, be Pirate King. Luffy, Goku's big goal. I just want to fight strong opponents, get better. So like that's true what you're saying, Madara. But if we're talking about what their main goals and what drives them and what brings them closer to that goal, like that's kind of redundant to what we're arguing. But if we're just going into the character argument, like which is a better character, then that's a valid point. I agree with that. But in terms of relatability, even Goku's just more relatable than Luffy on the fact that Luffy never has an internal dialogue. Never. He literally, like you can go in the manga, there's never any panel of him thinking about anything. We get that with Goku and many other shonen protagonists. So like based on that, we get inside Goku's head on numerous times. We see his thought process. We know how he feels more often. That just makes him for a more relatable character than someone like Luffy, who literally doesn't think.
And Goku's not even the most relatable. We haven't even gotten to the most relatable character yet. But even then, like when you talk about, all right, go ahead. My bad.
Sorry. When you first get into like the series, right? You want to see what you're like the character. You really like. You see the beginning of the story. The character has like a goal, a dream, right? And with Luffy, it's more like obtainable. It's something that you can actually obtain. Goku, you can actually just like the writer himself can actually keep making stronger opponents appear and shit like that. If that's his goal, like just getting stronger and shit. Luffy's dream, he's getting Luffy's dream, he's getting closer and closer. You can actually see that in like Zoe. He's getting poneglyphs, road poneglyphs to get into Rafto and shit.
What's the counter that?
And even there,
okay, the counter.
Goku.
And I think this is the further.
Goku is one of the most one-note characters that I've ever seen inside of any Shonen Jump or any series, period. And that is not relatable to normal people. Normal people go through seasons of growth. They go through seasons of doubt. They go through seasons of unbelief. Goku stays the same throughout the entire storyline.
No, he doesn't.
Now, if you think that that's cool, subjectively,
No, he doesn't.
if you think that that's cool,
Someone said the king of the world is a dog in Dragon
But that's not. But that's not every person ever. That's literally only Goku.
People misunderstand that Goku does go through a lot of change from the first like chapter of the. I'll break it real quick. Let's be super. Like, not only when we first see Goku, he's literally on Luffy's level of intelligence. He's like just retarded savage. He's an idiot.
What do you mean Luffy's level of intelligence, bro? You're moving.
Luffy's an idiot. Like
Luffy is an idiot. He's literally illiterate. I'm pretty sure he's illiterate.
Yeah, but by the time of Dragon Ball,
I see what we're doing here.
Goku's become.
Why are you acting like Goku isn't illiterate though?
Let him sense point.
Like by the time of I'm not saying Goku in Dragon Ball Z is like this genius level intellect, but no, you see very clearly by the time Dragon Ball Z,
he's literally retarded.
And what?
He's literally retarded.
He's still retarded, literally.
But like before, he couldn't even tell what a man was from a woman.
Exactly.
Oh my bad, he's less retarded than before.
Okay, so that's change. Hold up, that's change. And can I please finish my point? Because I like. And secondly,
because
in Dragon Ball, that's in Dragon Ball, Goku killed indiscriminately. He didn't care who he killed. General Black, Tambourine, King Piccolo, numerous Red Army soldiers. He just killed. He didn't care. But after training with Kami, his viewpoint on killing changed. He became about sparing people, and he saw no reason to kill people. He became a more virtuous person.
And even then, yeah, exactly. You even see it with Frieza a lot. Like, I know a lot of you people didn't read the manga, but in the manga, you literally see the instance where all this time, where people call it cockiness, but the fact is Goku didn't want to kill Frieza. And the moment he gives him his energy and he strikes back and has to blast Frieza, do you know what Goku does in the aftermath? His arm is shaking, and you see self-doubt in his face because he truly didn't want to do it. And back to what he brought up, the point about Dragon Ball, there's a scene with Ader when Goku's literally about to kill someone, and Ader stops his hand. And Goku says, "What are you doing, Ader? I have to finish him off. I have to kill him. I can't let him get away." And Ader tells him, "If you do that, you're no better than they are." Literally, you literally see growth from Dragon Ball even to the end of Z of how he turns into a character.
I mean, that's kind of not true because we even see in Cell arc, Goku told Gohan just to kill Cell, and just to finish it off.
No, he said finish him off. Yeah, at that point. But it's not like no, but we're saying he's not okay with it. He's not okay. Like, you need to understand, he's not okay with it. Like, that's the reason why he spared Vegeta. It's not just because he wants to fight somebody strong, but it's because most of Goku's allies, Waldo, were his opponents and villains at one point. Tien, Piccolo, Vegeta, all these guys used to be his enemies. But he turned them good because he spared their life. Piccolo was on the ground trying to kill him, and he gave this guy a senzu bean. Like that shows
you're talking about from like change he's done from other characters or shit. But if you talk about the same thing Luffy has done, Zoro from like the first time he's met Luffy, he said, "If you do anything for me to stray from my goal, you have to die. Kill yourself." And then we see Zoro at Thriller Bark. He says, "I'll lay down my life for my captain to become Pirate King. I'll put aside my goal for my captain to become Pirate King." Luffy's done the same thing. He's changed all the strides. He's made Robin believe in him. He's made Nami believe in him. They all have faith in him now.
You want to know what that is?
Why? Go on.
Because Luffy is what they call a flat character, like a flat character. He changes people around him, but he himself does not change.
Exactly. That's why I love.
That's the point of
change. Yeah. Hold on. I wasn't done.
Didn't Naruto do that?
Yeah, like Naruto did that too.
Naruto isn't really a
hey, we don't talk about Naruto around here. We don't want to invite Sweat Kage.
I mean, like,
oh shit!
Like someone just said, Naruto was the same way. Do you know where that archetype came from? Goku. He started that archetype in Shonen.
Okay, yeah, I respect that. We're not talking about how Dragon Ball Z is clearly the father of Shonen. We respect that, but we're just saying, imagine they came out at the same time. Which one is better, Dragon Ball Z versus One Piece? Because if you come in and say, "Oh, it was the inspiration," you can keep saying that and you can keep using that because that is a fact. But there's no point of bringing that up when you're comparing.
No, but you just said you like that aspect about Luffy when it derives from. Why don't you like it when it's derived from Goku?
Exactly.
That's the thing
flat
that
character,
doesn't make any sense.
the flat character archetype.
You just agreed that Luffy's a flat character in that aspect. So if you like that,
he is completely different to Goku. Though it is completely different to Goku.
By proxy.
Hold on, Sasuke said, didn't Goku...
No, but that's what I'm not understanding.
Hold on, Sasuke said, didn't Goku say in Super that I will never forgive those who... That's Super. They said we can't use Super.
Luffy, Goku isn't. You just literally just said he's had character development or what?
You don't understand what it like. You can be a flat character but still develop, but you're still a flat character.
Oh, bro, it's going down.
No, that makes no sense.
How does it not make sense? How does it not make sense? Like, Goku has changed, but at the core, at his fundamentals, he's still
the reason why I love Luffy is because the point of Luffy's character is he's already to I guess you can say developed to his limit, and he basically develops the world around him, and he helps characters around him develop. That's the point of Luffy's character. He's basically the good in a fucked up world. Whereas with Goku, he literally develops. You see him go from a little idiot, which I'm not saying Luffy isn't, but he goes from a little idiot and slowly grows, turns into a mature father or whatnot.
No, I can argue that he doesn't, because Future Trunks showed up, told him, hey man, in the future, you die from a rare heart disease. Here's this medicine. Take it. What does Goku do?
Not take it.
I forgot to take the medicine that'll help me from not dying. And he can't do anything for the first quarter against the freaking androids.
It wasn't grape flavor. That's why I didn't take it right away.
Shut your ass up.
That's stupid.
Stupid. Hell no. That is dumb. But I don't even want to get started about how much of a terrible.
The same thing about Goku.
Hey, you want to know something? Hey, you want to know something else about Goku? Goku's a terrible fucking father.
Yeah, that's actually
That's true, but that doesn't necessarily make him a bad character. That's for him being a bad.
No, but
He's not a good person from that.
I mean, that's fine. Like,
Luffy is an amazing brother. Let's go.
Listen, there's one thing.
Wait, so you blame Goku for dying?
Yo, listen, Luffy is just a kid right now. He's just 19.
Kid?
And Goku is a father. He's a father of two people.
He might not be a kid after Amazon Lily. They were stroking his mushroom, but anyway.
Maybe. Like, he's 19 though. And Goku is the father of two sons.
That he doesn't really know.
Exactly, that's the point. So, like, we have to wait for Luffy to mature maybe a bit, like, before we can talk about maturity of characters. Like, you can compare Luffy with Naruto, but for Goku, I think at this point you have to call him a bit immature, because I think when Luffy reaches the Goku's level, I think he would be a lot more mature than he is right now. And we've already seen some signs of that in Wano. Like, he shared his food with the villagers in Wano. He never did that before. I mean, that itself was a big deal.
But at the same time, I'm actually gonna take a dig at Luffy's character, because he's been pissing me off close time skip. My favorite character in the series. But he goes and attacks Kaido out of anger. That's something that he should have grown out of. That annoyed me. He went and attacked Kaido out of anger.
He thought he killed his crewmates though. Like, there were Sanji, Nami, and all sorts of people. He thought they were dead. So it was like impulsive. Like,
I understand that. Yeah, even Goku would do that in that situation. Most protagonists would do that.
Most people would do that.
But why was he thick-headed enough not to listen to Law? And Law's clearly telling him, "Chill out, hold up." Wait.
Because Law is not his.
You can't expect him. You can't expect him to like grow up like, so much in so little time. Like, for me, I think Luffy is becoming more of a captain now. Like, the thing
he is. Look at him in the prison. He's a leader, bro. They're all looking up at him.
In the prison, he took Katakuri to a different, like, to Mirror World, and then broke the mirror so that Katakuri couldn't chase the rest of his crew. I think that was, for example, where he showed, like, considerable leadership. And he's been constantly progressing on that front since then.
Dog, Sasuke just said Goku left his family for a year to train some Nigerian nigga.
No. Wait. So, no, that, you know what's funny about that? Like, people forget about the past 5 years he was spending time with Goten and his family. Or the first 4 years he spent with Gohan before he died, unable to be there with his son because of Raditz and Piccolo. A lot of people forget that. Like, I don't get this. Most of the problems people have with Goku being a bad father was because he wasn't there. When the reason he wasn't there was literally because he was busy protecting everybody there. Like, if that's being a bad, if that's basic, like I told Vergo, that is some Chi-Chi head-ass nonsense right there. That is exactly what it is. You're telling me that it'd be better for Goku to stay with his kid and be there instead of protecting the world from utter destruction. That's basically what you're saying. If that's being a bad father, let me finish. I'm getting kind of tired of this. Yeah. But if a father paying for his son's mistakes, sacrificing himself myself and staying away from the planet. Because I feel like if I'm there, if I'm around, that can affect the longevity and the growth of you as a human being. If that's being a bad father, then we all need to rethink ourselves. That's all I'm going to say.
No, something tells me you wouldn't like Ginge.
Hold on. He spent 6 months training with Gohan in the time chamber. He said he wanted to spend quality time with him, and he did not know what Gohan's interest was when he came out. Piccolo knew. He did not know that Gohan was not interested in fighting people and shit like that.
It wasn't fighting. The main argument with that is because when he goes in the time chamber, like I said, I understand that not understanding that aspect about his son is bad. But when you compare it to when you compare it to spending time and getting to know your son, going fishing with him, sitting down, when Chi-Chi is saying, when Goku's about to go train and Chi-Chi's like, no, you're staying here and doing work. And Gohan complains saying, no, I got to go train with dad. Goku himself is saying, nah, listen to your mom. Like, she knows what's best for you. Do it this way.
He was trying to get some pussy.
I agree with you. I agree with you in that aspect that part, not knowing about his son, is bad. But a lot of people overlook that entire tournament part, Waldo. They overlook the fact that I'm pretty sure all of y'all have been in. I don't know if y'all have been in a scenario like that, but you can go see it in movies.
I ain't got no kids.
So that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't either. But when you go, when you look in the tournament, the moment Goku gives up and says, "Son, get in there," not only is your son doubting himself, but all his friends are doubting him, saying he can't do it, and the only person who believes in him is his dad, and you're telling me that's being a bad father? Like, I don't get that.
I also don't get why he gave Cell a Senzu bean, but I digress.
That was necessary. That was completely necessary. That was completely necessary.
Let me just say this. Goku being a bad...
I actually don't think Goku's a bad father, but he's not a good one either.
I mean, I think Goku's a bad father, but like, what's him being a bad character? Like, he's a bad person, sure, but like, Goku's a bad person, and no one says he's a bad character. Like,
yeah, that's completely different.
How is this relevant to the debate at all?
Villains are supposed to be that. Joker is an anti-hero. It's a completely different kind of character, bro.
But like Goku being a bad father doesn't mean he's a bad character. Like, so I don't understand like why we're wasting so much time arguing.
He's the main protagonist.
He's not a bad character.
Okay, I can name plenty of main protagonists that are terrible people.
That's your team. He's gonna bring up
I would consider to be a terrible person.
Luffy's a terrible person.
Yeah.
Tell these niggas.
How is Luffy a terrible person, bro?
He literally freed a bunch of inmates from Emerald Down.
Wait, are we talking about
terrible person?
He freed all those level 6 Impel Down prisoners. Are we really doing this?
And then when he went, hey, so I can't.
I mean, well, that was Blackbeard, but he freed a lot of prisoners. Like that's crazy.
Listen, Luffy is a terrible person, but he didn't claim himself to be a hero. He even
Goku never claimed himself to be a good dad.
Yeah, but the thing is, Luffy's literally the opposite. He's a fucking pirate. He's someone that does whatever he wants.
There are times where Luffy has been a good hero. What time has Goku been a good dad?
Okay, what is Goku's title? Goku's a martial artist. That's all he is.
Wow, a martial artist with 2 children, my nigga.
Goku says he's someone.
And a wife.
Goku says he's an Earthling that fights to save the fucking Earth all the time. What are you talking about?
Goku sacrificed himself for his kids. What?
Exactly, like.
When? Because last time I thought about it, Goku sacrificed himself to fight in the other world, and when he had a chance to fight in the new world, when he had a chance to fight on Earth, he came back.
My thing is that like fighting is main. Everything else is secondary to Goku. Like Goku literally only married Chi-Chi.
No.
Like Goku literally only married Chi-Chi because like he made a promise. And
when it comes to Luffy, nothing is secondary to his crew.
I mean, yeah, but like we're debating bad people. Like you're saying like Goku's bad for like abandoning his family to fight. And Luffy's bad for doing pirate things. Like, what's the point?
But when it comes to being Pirate King, his crew don't come after that.
Nah, Goku saved the solar system like multiple times.
Oh, that's a very beautiful point, Vergo. Because when it comes to the Pirate King, Luffy would ditch that shit for his crew any day, bro. Same way Zoro ditched that shit for fucking
Big
Luffy.
facts.
I just don't. I agree. Like, who's a bad character now? Because we're just saying they have their flaws. Like, what's the?
No, I'm not saying he's a bad
character. No, don't run away, nigga.
I think Luffy is a far better.
I'm on the side that Goku's a terrible dad and Piccolo's Gohan's real father, but like that doesn't prove Goku's a bad character.
No, I'm not saying Goku's a bad character. I'm saying Luffy is a far better character, bro. They're both decent characters.
By being bad, do you mean he's badly written or that he's a bad person?
I just think he's writing wise. Writing wise, Goku is mediocre in comparison to Luffy, who is also not even that amazing compared to most MCs, but they're both just you know, good characters, but Luffy.
You need a. It depends what.
The reason why I say that.
Like,
the reason why I say that is because look, Goku. It's with Luffy. It's clear. What's the main things a character needs? A character needs set goals, a motive, that kind of stuff. Goku doesn't really have that. He lives day by day.
I don't get it.
I agree. I think when you say that automatically makes.
That's the problem
Vegeta
I have with Dragon Ball Z as a story.
Better character than Goku.
No, but
Vegeta is a much more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and for me, I think Vegeta is a much better character than Goku because at least we know Vegeta's like insecurity and his motivations, right? Like we know Vegeta, he's always insecure about his own strength when he compares himself to Goku, and he always wants to strive on it, and he's also insecure that he couldn't save his planet, right? For Goku, what are his insecurities? For Luffy, we know that he, for the longest, like he was regretful of the fact that he couldn't save his crew on Sabaody and he couldn't save Ace, okay? But for Goku, we don't see any point of regret. Like when he dies, he goes in train. There's like no emotion, no time for
there
Goku.
is. I literally just told you when he's forced to kill Frieza, his arm is literally trembling. His arm is trembling and he is sweating down his face.
Wait,
it's like one moment.
He literally regretted. He didn't want to resort to killing a person like that. You need to understand the type of mental fortitude you need to make a decision like that. A ruthless emperor shows up on this planet after claiming millions upon millions of lives. He kills your best friend. That's the thing that makes that scene great, is because you have a person who's gentle at heart, kind at heart. When he's pushed to the breaking point, now you can't mess with him. It's like pissing off the nice people are the worst things you can do. And then at that moment, this guy's dead.
Retard strength.
It's just like this guy's dead on the ground, cut in half. A guy like him is begging for mercy. King Kai, Yamcha, Tien are all telling him, you need to leave the planet. Don't spare him. You can't do that. And even having the mental fortitude after all that guy's done to give him power and just tell him, I don't want to see your face again. Stop all this like evil, basically all this evil stuff you're doing and leave. To be backstabbed, like that shows you that this guy didn't want to kill this man in the first place. That's what makes him. I don't even think Luffy would do that. Luffy would not go to that extent to. He doesn't even do that. You can go look at any arc. The guy's just straight ruthless. Like I'm saying, if it ever came to a point where some dude's cut in half, begging for his life after he just, let's say for example, killed Luffy's crewmates, there's no guarantee. Luffy isn't going to give this guy like, I don't know, hockey energy or something. Let this guy walk off carefree. He's not going to do that.
We haven't seen Luffy in that kind of situation.
Yeah, we really haven't.
That's why.
That's why I'm saying, like, in terms of Goku's character, like I'm showing you that even as a ruthless person like Frieza, after just killing his best friend, killing all the Namekians, killing Vegeta, and threatening to go to Earth and kill all his friends, like
to have that expected though. Like for me, I would be surprised if he had killed Frieza in that moment. Like the fact that he didn't kill him was like that's how his character was shown from the beginning.
No.
The fact that he didn't kill him?
No.
Oda has already.
No, what I'm saying is that, but the thing is, he did kill him, and you see the self-doubt and the regret he has of doing that action. He's upset that he had to resort to that. You never see any other scene like that with Goku where his arm is literally trembling in fear because he had to kill Frieza. You never see that.
There's a reason why Luffy has been in that situation. You can't use that argument. Oda has literally said in the SBS, the reason why Luffy doesn't kill people is because he values lives more than anything, because that's the only way you can dream. He values his dream more than anything, and the only way you can dream is to live. He says that in the fourth SBS.
That's a nice piece of information.
My nigga Alex in the chat said Luffy killed the Going Mary.
That's a nice.
Shit.
I love that piece about Luffy's character, Fiji, but the fact that Oda had to say that in SBS and not anywhere in the actual story, that's kind of trash.
But the point of that was because you're supposed to understand that from watching the series. The question was, why doesn't Luffy kill anyone? And he explained it. You're supposed to realize that kind of stuff when you see it.
Goku killed. You know, in retrospect, Goku hasn't killed anyone.
I mean, he killed plenty of people.
Aside from Kid, well, I mean, like
main characters.
Vergo's talking about main dudes. Like
main
aside
villains.
from Kid,
I know he's killed father. I know he has.
I mean,
aside from Kid Buu, he hasn't killed anyone.
I mean, do you count King
And
Piccolo
in
as
that
like
and
being
in that
dead?
in that vein, he really didn't kill
General
Kid Buu. Kid Buu technically was
I
reincarnated.
mean, he killed like again in Dragon Ball, he killed like pretty much most of the main villains. But
Yes,
like,
he killed
did.
the only black
He
person
did.
in Dragon Ball Z. I agree.
Raymond Ormy. But we're being honest though. Luffy was inspired by Goku. So
Why do you keep saying that? Why do you keep saying that?
That's the point. That's the point.
We get that,
inspired by Oda was inspired by Toriyama, and he made a much better fucking series.
But the problem with that
you
is
have to see that pre-proven.
This is the problem with it. It's because like when you look at overall goals, it's true that Luffy wants to be Pirate King and everything. But when you understand Goku's goal, the whole theme of Dragon Ball is about self-improvement. It's about making yourself better, and they show you that a lot better than, for example, like in One Piece, when Luffy goes up against villains, you don't see that rigorous training Luffy goes beforehand. Water 7 is a perfect example of that. When the guy literally comes and says, thank you for, when he's talking to, what's his name? Door Man. Bluno. When he's talking to him, talking about, and Gear 2nd comes out of nowhere, there's no, like, you don't truly feel the fruit of this training in action. You don't see it. Whereas Goku, like, I still remember as a kid, if we want to talk about the anime, we're talking about if what the theme is done better. When you talk about self-improvement, like Goku training on his way to Namek to face like all those enemies he's about to face, and then hearing about there's this prophecy about a legendary Super Saiyan. All that comes to fruition at the end because it makes sense. You see the growth in the character from where he started to where he ended.
I enjoy that about Dragon Ball Z.
That's the thing about Dragon Ball. Goku's goal. Wait, let me finish this point real quick, because like I understand one of y'all earlier brought up the point about how you can see Luffy's goal coming into fruition because he's getting closer and closer to it. One Piece is Dragon Ball for Goku is literally about the journey. He doesn't care about the end. That's what separates him from. That's what separates Goku and Vegeta. That's the difference between them. Vegeta is training to be the best he can be. Had he been on the top at the end of the Namek saga, he probably wouldn't have trained as hard. The thing about Goku is that to him, there are no limits. My whole thing is about self-improvement. It's about getting better each and every day. It's a simple theme, but just because it's simple doesn't make it bad in any way.
Let me piggyback off that real quick. So in the anime, there's this beautiful scene where, Goku goes to the size up cell at the cell ring. While they're talking, Goku says, I've come a long way. And there's this long flashback from him as a kid meeting Bulma to fighting Vegeta and Frieza to standing at the arena. Then Cell says, so have I. And there's a flashback for him. His second time, he just realized how far these two characters have come. Goku was like a kid who before was getting bodied by Master Roshi, and now the nigga can blow up planets. It's the ultimate self-progression story.
Exactly. And you don't even need to talk about Goku. That's another thing, too. Like, we're talking about Goku when we could also be talking about
the series as a whole. I agree.
Yeah, that exactly. So in that case, we can talk about Vegeta. Like, Vegeta in that case.
Let's talk.
The guy... We can talk about how in every situation, like a lot of people agree that Vegeta is a lot more relatable to a lot of people than a Goku is. And I 100%.
And I'm going to let you finish, Mo, but I cannot wait to talk about y'all best girl.
You can't wait to talk about what?
Y'all best girl.
Wait, let's let Waldo rebuff first, because he was going to say something. What you were saying?
Yeah, I felt like what you kind of said was kind of bullshit, because like we literally just got into an arc where Luffy got his ass beat. And now he's learning, like we're looking at him progress, learning at something new that he's trying to.
You didn't see him getting his butt kicked. You didn't see that.
I didn't see Kaido one shot Luffy.
That's not what that's not what I'm talking about in terms of self-improvement. I'm talking about you don't see the moments in One Piece where Luffy, the point Gear 2nd, there's no build up to that. He just does it.
That's one point.
That's one point though, Mo.
Okay, what about Gear 4? You don't.
He had a 2-year time skip, bro, and we literally.
We didn't see any of that.
You didn't see any of that. You don't see any of that in Dragon Ball. They literally show you the
they're using the gravity room and that shit. I like that about Dragon Ball Z.
That holds a lot more weight. So when you see Goku,
Finish the
go ahead. My bad.
If you're only focusing on one point, like he's done the same thing and he's doing it recently with this new arc. He's literally learning a new hockey ability that's going to break through Kaido's skill. He's trying to break through it, and he's been learning. Like he tested it on another Yonko and shit. Like you could see the progression already. Like, and we're seeing it on screen this time.
It took us 20 years to see Luffy train, but we seen
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, like my point is, it's like in terms of self progression, I get what you're talking about. Like him being an Udon training and you seeing his growth. I agree that's a good way to showcase when he does go up against Kaido. You can see his growth. You can see how far he came. But Dragon Ball's always been doing that. You can go back to even in the early days of Dragon Ball when they're preparing for the World Martial Arts Tournament. And Master Roshi says, guys, you're not going there to win. You're going there to test your limits and see how far. Your goal shouldn't be to win. It's to see how strong you can test your limits. And you see that way before. The long episodes of Goku and Krillin running up and down mountains with turtles on their backs, like heavy turtle shells on their backs, delivering milk. And the moment Master Roshi says, all right, guys, tournament's coming up, and I think it was like the next day, he says, take off your turtle shells. They were literally shocked in amazement of how well they progressed because now they're light as a feather. They can do all these cool things. You saw that. You saw that growth. You saw what they went through. You don't get that with One Piece, aside from just recently in Udon.
No,
you don't see.
I think we can say that world building.
You do get that from One Piece, but your only complaint is we don't see it. That's your point.
But Waldo,
we do get that Luffy from literally the first chapter, like the first few chapters of the post-time skip arc, when he one-shotted a pacifista and they were struggling with it pre-time skip the whole crew.
Waldo, but I'm saying
doesn't Zoro train every day?
Waldo, I'm saying it doesn't hold weight unless you actually see it happening. Because you didn't see
it. It does.
It still does. I think it holds even more weight, bro.
We saw it doesn't hold weight because we saw how they got destroyed pre-time skip by him.
Yeah, but
you don't show the struggle of what he had to go through to attain that power. With Goku and Vegeta training in the time chamber, when you visibly see these guys' bodies are being crushed under pressure, when you see the monologue, we don't even need to go to Goku. Go look at Vegeta and Trunks in the time chamber. The first moment they walk in, Trunks. Let me finish. The first moment they walk in the time chamber, Vegeta and Trunks are there. You see Trunks immediately start panicking. He said, I have to be in here for a year with these fluctuating climates, this change in gravity. How am I going to handle it? When you have Vegeta, on the other hand, who's saying, I'm up for the challenge. When you see that visible growth of a character struggling to attain their goal, when they finally attain that goal or whatever objective they're trying to complete, it makes it more rewarding. Whereas in One Piece, if I don't see his physical growth, aside from Udon doesn't even do it as well.
Okay,
but
hold on. Hold on. Wow. Mo, I got a question. Hold on, Mo, I got a question. So when do we see the results of SSJ3?
Huh? Forget it.
So when do we see the build-up to Super Saiyan 3?
No, that's fine. That's fine. All Goku said, all you have in mind is that Goku trained for 7 years straight. That's all that was provided, and he attained that ability. That works. That works perfectly. I understand.
Okay, so how does Gear 4 not work?
How does Gear 4 work?
They both don't.
I ain't getting no flashback in Super Saiyan 3. That's all I'm doing.
Anyways, can I just explain something real quick though?
Yeah.
You guys are making it seem like One Piece is primarily a battle shonen manga. It's not like Dragon Ball Z, bro. It's not the case.
Hey, hold on.
But you have to acknowledge that. You have to acknowledge that.
You're going to shoot yourself in the dick. Don't say that.
Yeah, we were talking.
Don't say that.
What is this?
Do not say that. I will kick you because you will shoot yourself in the dick.
It's a battle shonen, and this is my main problem.
It's totally a battle shonen.
Is that this is my main problem. I'm a One Piece fan too, but the thing I've noticed about the community is when they get into an argument about discussing other verses, they love to brag about the story and the world building, which I 100% give it to them. But when people start talking about fights and actually what goes down in those fights and saying, oh, we can dismiss that because that's not what our story is about.
I know what you're going to say, but it is true, though. Oda's not good at that shit. Fights in One Piece.
But you have to acknowledge that, just like how you don't acknowledge Akira is not...
That's not the main thing in One Piece, though. That's the point.
It is one of the main things.
It is, though. That is the aspect that matters. You can ask Waldo, a guy who's on your team right now cares about that.
All that matters.
Every conflict is resolved.
It's solved by fighting, but that's not what sort of Luffy. That's not what Oda focuses on. That's not what the point of the movie is going forward.
We should focus on what Oda is best at, and that's what.
Because right now you're comparing something Oda isn't as good at to what Toriyama literally created a manga for.
I think that's bullshit.
No.
Why is that bullshit?
Go ahead, and I'll go.
What do you mean? What we haven't seen from his characters? We've actually seen.
No. They literally, you know what they're doing right now? They're basically comparing the thing that Dragon Ball Z was made for. The best thing about Dragon Ball Z compared to literally Oda's biggest weakness. That's what you're doing right now, bro.
Part of the story, like I think it's bullshit because when you brought up the world building, me and Mo was like, yeah, you got it. We didn't say, oh well, Dragon Ball Z is more about fighting than stories.
Yeah, we didn't say that. Yeah. We acknowledge that as a flaw. We acknowledge that as a flaw of the story. But I'm saying a lot of like what you're doing right now, since you don't want to get into it, you're dismissing it. When it's
I'm not dismissing it. I'm agreeing with you.
He's acknowledged it, but
I'm agreeing with you that it's a weak point of Oda. It's a big weak point of Oda when it comes to fights. But when it comes to things like storyline and plot,
my bad.
When it comes to stuff like storyline and plot, like
but I think
it blows Dragon Ball Z out of the water, bro.
I think it's a huge deal because, like, at the end of the day, it's a story, but it's a battle manga too. It's about fighting. Most niggas in this chat wouldn't have even read One Piece if it wasn't about fighting. That's just true.
And you can see the decline too, especially now in One Piece, where Oda doesn't want to show you any of it. It's heavily prevalent in Wano.
Yeah, exactly.
I get
it's not that he doesn't want to show you any of it. There's just quite a bit he has to get to.
It's not, but it's not like
stuff that he has to build up to. Like he hasn't even really
action
part of Wano yet.
I get that, but you wonder. You see, this is another thing too. It's the hopefulness that Oda uses this snippets of showing us things to hype it up when he actually shows it when he's not going to. People are excited for this war, and I get it.
Townsy just made a beautiful point. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
It's going. You're going to get a war, but you can see even in these previous chapters, he shows you a clash. That's all you needed to see. You don't need to know any more than that. Or even with other fights that start, you see the ending of the fight. You said what?
Flashback. We literally saw the full fight of Zoro.
No, I'm not talking about the flashback. I'm talking about Law and Hawkins.
We saw
what about
Zoro
Law and Hawkins? What about Law and Hawkins?
Law and Hawkins, yeah, but
that's one fight, and that's one for one though.
No, it's not the only one, bro.
What about Blackbeard? What about Blackbeard and Ace?
That what? That we saw that, bro.
We saw that whole fight. All we didn't see was
we didn't see the final move.
We saw that fight.
We didn't see the final move. That's it.
The only That's all we didn't see.
It's up for debate on whether or not that was where the fight ended. Like people,
no. That is where the fight ended.
No. That's been a huge point of contention in the community for years. Like no one, like some people thought they fought longer after that. It's up
I mean, I believe that we're a bit more intelligent in that fighting. No. First of all, from what we know with Ace, that's his end all to be all. So we don't know him anything more.
Okay, what about Akainu and Aokiji? What about Akainu and Aokiji? Why didn't we see that?
That's my point, though. It's not firstly a battle manga. It only focuses on Luffy and the crew's fights, and even the crew's fights.
I think we have a single answer for that.
Okay. That's a good point. It's not firstly about manga.
But you see,
hold on. What we did in the story was like knock out a Sea King, but it's not a battle manga.
But at the same time, see more fights, like more fights are important to the series, even if it's not exactly about manga. You know, you put fights out there, you should show us some level of them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, of course, that's what it does. That's what it does. And I'm not saying they're amazing. I do enjoy a lot of the fights on One Piece, but I don't enjoy them because they're good fights. I enjoy them because of the emotional connection you have due to the adventure and what matters.
And I agree with that.
Why the fight matters to the characters.
I agree with that. But when you're comparing series, that's why I tell people when you're comparing two series, you need to argue what when two series are vastly different, One Piece and Dragon Ball are very different. You need to compare what does what better. And so when the dismissing point for why people say One Piece is better than Dragon Ball is because it has a better story, that's not a fair argument. Because if a Dragon Ball fan comes up and says, in terms of like character growth, there's no person in One Piece so far that has better character growth than Vegeta.
Or Piccolo.
There's nothing.
I've completely
disagree
that, bro.
I want to hear this.
Zoro has better growth.
Yeah,
Zoro has better growth.
Has character growth.
Zoro has better growth. Zoro
is nothing like
Nani.
Did I hear this
Chapter
correctly?
5, Zoro says to Luffy, "I will kill you if you get in the way."
Zoro has better than Vegeta.
400 chapters.
Zoro has better growth than. Come on, y'all.
Oh my God.
Yes, he does.
Law has went from a character that wanted to destroy and see everything burn, and the nigga now is like traveling, trying to be free.
No, even
that is good character growth, but it's not on the same level as Vegeta at all. Vegeta is a completely different character from when he was in the beginning of the story to the end of the story.
Exactly.
I like
very similar to
So wait, hold on. You can't compare someone like Zoro, who basically had his dream literally like all the way ingrained within himself about being the best for Kuina for himself, being the best swordsman, seeing Kuma saying, you know what, Fuck it. I put my captain's dream over my dream.
Thank you.
Vegeta, okay, you want me to bring up Vegeta?
Don't go there, Virgo.
Those aren't synonymous?
No, we can go there. We can go there. We can go.
They're not synonymous. That's what you're telling me.
Okay, so we can talk about how Vegeta throughout the entirety of the series is talking about surpassing Goku, and at the end of the saga, at the end of the finale of Dragon Ball Z, he finally admits that this guy is better than him and that he is number one.
That is not his fucking dream.
Hold on.
That is not his dream.
You know what I'm annoyed about though? That's
not his dream.
That was his drive to get stronger.
Well, that was the driving moment for the entire story, Virgo. What the hell? For the entire story.
What is Zoro's dream? What is Zoro's dream?
To be the world's strongest swordsman.
And what did he do when he was in front of his dream?
He gave it up.
He gave it up for who?
For Luffy.
That's not giving it up.
He's done something even compared like it's.
Okay, let me explain why Vegeta.
And I wasn't saying one was better than the other. I was saying they were synonymous.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not synonymous.
How are they not synonymous?
They're not synonymous because with Vegeta we get a much more in-depth, a much longer much longer. Can I finish my point, please? Yeah. We get a much longer transition. We get more details as to why he is the way he is. There's no point in the story where we get the Vegeta crying to Goku about Frieza or the Majin Buu saga where Vegeta lays bare why he is the way he is, why he feels the way he feels. You don't get that from Zoro. You just don't. Like
Vegeta's growth is so great.
What are you talking about?
You literally you can go look at the World Tournament. You can go look at the World Tournament when when Vegeta's about to fight Goku in one of Dragon Ball's weakest arcs. When Vegeta's about to fight Goku and Supreme Kai's like, "You're doing all this for stupid pride? This is meaningless." Vegeta literally tells him, "What do you know about meaningless? Spend your whole life ruled by another, watch your race dwindle to a handful, and then tell me what has more meaning than your own strength." Completely and explaining to you Vegeta's character as a whole, how he believes that the strong survive and the weak die. It shows you where all that progressed from. Even in the Majin Buu saga, like, what is that, 8-9+ years later, after Frieza's already been dead, and this guy's still, like, you can see the bondage from Frieza still involved in, like, with Vegeta's character. There's nothing Zoro has compared to that at all. It's not even close.
The difference between what you guys can do, right? You guys could just talk about only, like, just Vegeta. We could talk about multiple characters.
Yes, thank you.
What about
Piccolo? What about Ender 18? What about Krillin? What about Tien? What about 16?
What about Bonkley? What about Flamingo? What about
characters? We can talk about villains.
We can talk about his big butt buddy Chaozu.
Right now. We can talk about Law. We can talk about
Flamingo, Crocodile, Bonkley. There's so many side characters, bro.
Crocodile.
Crocodile
has a character arc.
Crocodile.
No, he does not.
No, he does not have a character arc. No, he doesn't.
Hold on.
No, he doesn't.
He saved Luffy and Jinbei's life in Marineford.
Exactly. Why? Because he didn't like the Marines. It had nothing to do with having a character arc. He said it himself. I just don't like the Marines. He said that himself. He did not change at all.
And not liking the Marines doesn't mean he has to save Luffy, does it?
Exactly, bro. That's some retarded.
Yes, he literally says, I don't want them to get their way.
That's for when he saved. When he said that, he literally said, "Luffy, Ike, go." That's what he said, man.
I don't want them to get their way.
Listen, Crocodile definitely changed. You cannot say Crocodile did not change. He definitely changed. In Marineford, he showed that. He showed that.
Here's why for a fact he did change, because Mihawk even said it himself. Luffy has the most dangerous.
Bro, you know what I'm annoyed about? What Jordan guy said? I don't know his name. I can't see his full name. Jordan guy, he basically said that One Piece fans, they always dismiss like fights and whatnot. But the thing with Dragon Ball Z is you're telling me you accept that world building is better, right? World building is literally the most important thing in the story.
That's not true. That is
yes,
That's not true.
Subjective.
That is so
That's a significant fact.
Oh my god,
subjective,
that is not true.
World building is everything, bro. World building is everything.
It's not, bro. It's not.
I don't know about that, man.
Fiji, bro.
For the story of One Piece, world building is everything, bro.
Fiji, come on. It's not everything. It's a culmination of world building, the fights, the emotional value within those fights, the build up to certain things. There's so character development, characters in themselves. There's so much more that's the culmination of One Piece, other than just the world building. Please do not say that blasphemous statement again.
What if you had the same world and you had a bunch of stick figures?
But you're not understanding what the world building means, bro. The whole point of the world building is that
I don't think you are.
literally the most important thing about the story is getting to know about the Void Century. That whole mysterious point.
That is completely.
I can guarantee you. Go ahead.
Let me just say this, Vergo. Let me just say this because we just had this argument when that editor came out and talked about how One Piece is ending in 5 years. I was in an argument with Waldo just 2 days ago, and we were talking about why One Piece is being rushed. Oda's not showing us fights. This is bad. And I literally told Waldo, why do you think people are invested in this story? They want to find out about what the One Piece is, and they want to find out about the Void Century, the Will of D, the mysteries that have yet to be unveiled, right? When I remember somebody in that same call was literally talking about they care about fights. They care more about that. It's more important to them to figure out how these matchups happen. Zoro versus Mihawk, all that stuff. Zoro versus Mihawk, Luffy versus Akainu, Luffy versus Blackbeard. They'd much rather see that than learn about things about the Void Century or anything like that. So the thing you're talking about is completely the thing you're talking about. No, I'm dead serious because I was literally getting. That's what I thought everybody was there for. I thought people would really be more interested in what One Piece does. It plays to its strength. It's about the world building and the story aspect. When you have a lot of people who are upset because I care more about. It's a battle shonen. I want to see my fights.
Hold on. Can I tell you the problem with that? The problem with that is the whole thing about the story. We don't even see a lot of the story a lot of times until like 5 years. Yeah.
Even then, Oda's also the problem with Oda too is how he keeps the story going is by relying on the hype factor. I'm teasing you this right now to trick you into thinking I'm going to reveal it next or later on.
I don't like that statement either. Hold on. So let me put it.
Let me explain. I'll get to the reverie. Let me explain the reverie. The reverie was the arc. The reverie was the arc where people were saying, finally, we're going to an arc where after all this time, we're going to get some answers to the already posed questions Oda gave us. When by the time we leave the reverie, first of all, we don't even see what they discuss. And then you introduce even more questions.
You say like that's a bad thing. You say like that's a bad thing. Is that a bad thing?
That is a bad thing.
No,
that is a bad thing.
Of course
let me tell you why that's a bad thing.
It's not exactly a bad thing. It raises the tree.
Let me tell you why that's a bad thing. Because when you go... Let me tell you why that's a bad thing. Because the reverie is it's literally an arc for a discussion about what's happening in the world. That is what it's about.
Keep the combo going. I'll be right back.
Who said that? No one said that.
That's what the reverie. That's literally what the reverie is. It's when all the kingdoms come together to discuss aspects.
But for the readers, it's about so much more than that. We got to know more about the One Piece world.
Were you excited when we saw? So you were excited when we saw an even bigger hat in this refrigerator?
Yeah. What?
Okay.
I don't know why you can hate on that. That's the dumbest thing.
You know why I hate that? Do you know why you like that? Do you know why you like that? Because that is what they call a hype tool to get you excited for him to show you this later. Dude, he literally shows it.
Like hype tool is bad.
Dude, it's literally used as a hype tool. Oda shows you Imu-sama. And this has to possibly show it to you later.
What is wrong with that? We were introduced to Flamingo.
Dude, do you know what's wrong with that? Because that's what, if you've ever been in the Discord, you'll see that people are, when we get into those long arguments, those long debates, when we get into those long debates about this character can beat this character, Mihawk can beat Shanks, do you know why we get into that argument?
Because of mystery, look.
Okay.
It's mystery and it's the hype. Literally, you can go I went in a forum just what people thought about Mihawk versus Shanks. People were like, via feats, Mihawk, via hype, Shanks. That's literally what they're saying. Because you don't see any of the story you see.
It's got to do with anything, bro.
Let me use
it's because what I'm saying is that Oda is giving you more. Lately, he's been doing a better job, but I'm saying like Reverie especially, that's an arc where you answer questions, not give more questions.
No, man. I don't. I supremely disagree with you. I like almost. Nah, man, you are so wrong on that.
No, this is a good example, right? A girl be like, right, you gotta wait till marriage, right? And then, she tries to ease you up, right? She be like, okay, one day you can eat her out, right? Another day you can touch her boobs, and it's like she never let you go all the way. Don't you agree?
Exactly.
What the fuck is that?
That's
Let me indulge. Let me indulge.
Are you crazy right now? Are you drunk? You high? What?
That's trash.
He's capping. No, it's nothing to do with that.
I'm just saying, like,
I've been reading for 12 years, bro.
No, he's not giving you the full plate.
Yeah, but the thing with Dragon Ball, like you're getting that.
What the fuck?
It's getting stale. It's getting stale overall.
No, it depends what. No, but you see that's the thing. Like Waldo, the thing is, that's why when you compare two series, I tell people you need to compare it to what does what better. The theme of Dragon Ball is about self-progression and making yourself grow as a person, get stronger. Like Goku makes that. Even if you ever watch Dragon Ball, you can see it clearly in Dragon Ball Z. The first moment Vegeta arrives, he says, "No amount of training will ever allow you to be like matched up against me." When Goku says it's simple, but it's the truth. Even a low-class warrior can beat an elite if he works hard enough. And that's literally what happened. Be it he had help, but the whole thing is about self-progression and doing it, being the best you can be. Like with One Piece, yeah, true.
Listen,
about,
no one will disagree with you on that point. People agree. Like that's the strong point of Dragon Ball Z, and I think this is why many people get attracted to that. That it's like the training in Dragon Ball Z is like, I think it basically inspires people, and whereas the training in One Piece, it has jack shit, right? Like no one cares that Luffy is getting stronger right now. No one cares. But when Goku trains, people care. People get inspired, and I think that's the the best point of Dragon Ball Z.
If anything is about the journey and not the end destination, it's Dragon Ball. That's literally what it's about. It's about the journey. It's not about the end. Where One Piece does have an end. Luffy will find the One Piece. Luffy will become Pirate King.
But where in the story does it say that it's about the journey?
One Piece is about the journey.
Oh
One
my God,
Piece is about the journey.
No, but people say like when you
enjoy the journey.
I do enjoy the journey, but I'm saying Dragon Ball's a lot more about the journey than it is the end goal.
Yeah, because there is no end goal, so it's literally just a journey. Like that's why like it has such a nostalgic, adventurous, romantic feeling because it's just about going on an adventure. Goku at the end of the first arc, like he says, "I never knew life could be such an adventure." Because that's the start, and that's start of the story, and that's really sets tone for the story. Just Goku getting into shit. That's why even though One Piece is longer, Dragon Ball feels longer because it's from the time of Goku being a kid to being a grown man with a family. It just progresses, and it's still going because Goku's still trying to be the best he can be, fight strong opponents. But at some day, like I said, Luffy will find the One Piece, and that'll be just that.
I just don't agree with that. I don't agree that it's better in that kind of way because if you're going through a journey, you expect there's like supposed to be an end, and I just don't find an interest of going through that journey and someone not having an end to it or a proper one to it.
Let me just tell you this, man. The longest tour we ever took was the shortcut.
Huh?
Ain't no end in One Piece. It's been going for 20 years.
What you talking about?
Yeah, it's going on for 20 years.
I'm sorry, I was gone for a little
bit. How close is Luffy to becoming Pirate King right now? What does he have?
That's a whole other debate, man, if you want to say something like that.
What does he have, though? He has 2 of the road poneglyphs, and there's 2 more that he needs to get to Raftel.
That's right. So you could say if you want to measure it by that, he's halfway there. If you want to measure it by that.
I suppose.
Well, my thing is, it's like, because I'm talking about in terms of themes, right? Like, I get you understand that you feel like there needs to be an end goal, but the driving, like the thing that Dragon Ball shows you, even aside from other battles shown in, like even Naruto, it's not just the training aspect, but you see the consistent. Oh my God, I cannot speak right now. Like, why is it on Vergo stream? Like, anyways, what? Like, I don't know, bro. It's got something to do with Vergo. I'm losing brain cells just being on here. But anyways, like, no, I'm playing. But you see not only do you see the training, but you see the consistency of how long they train for. Like, I think that's a thing a lot of people overlook. Like, to have the grind to be able to do that, like you said, it's repetitive. But even in training, to be able to keep doing that over and over again is just what makes it a lot better. There's a lot of scenes in Dragon Ball where even in the anime, like when Goku and Gohan are training, there's no dialogue. No one's talking. It's them just training. Literally just training. That's all it is. Like with One Piece, I mean, what do you like you said, story and world building, that's its strength. It's playing to its strength. But even then, like it's lacking. Like even in Wano, it's like there's a lot more questions.
But now we're found.
Hey, what's up, Darcy? What's up, Twilight?
There are answers.
What's good, y'all?
And we're having a One Piece versus Dragon Ball debate. Y'all.
I saw. And wet facet, like how
overall, literally all of it.
As an overall series.
In general.
Just drop Super and GT in it. No Super, no GT.
As the overall series, One Piece is superior, but Which one got more clout? I'll wait.
I don't know.
One Piece, bro.
I don't know.
Just look at the sales, my nigga.
Look at the sales, nigga. Who, man, look, my nigga. Dragon Ball probably put half of everybody on. Like,
yeah, no. Dragon Ball is the king. Dragon Ball is the king. I'll give them that. But One Piece.
The nostalgia factor for Dragon Ball Z just raises it to another level. Bruh. It's probably it's definitely my first anime. Well, that and Yu Yu Hakusho. Bruh.
The thing is, though.
Bruh, like thing is, like, man, you see how much shit copied Dragon Ball Z after the fact? Like, everything from Goku's fucking color scheme to his fucking origins.
Bro, you got Gear second. You got Gear second and Gear 4th because of Goku. Like, come on now.
Nah. I'm gonna say one thing though. I don't feel I've never.
Oh, what's up, Trent Money?
Yo, I just got a couple questions real quick.
A couple. Not just one. I got like 12.
Hey, Trent came in hot.
What? Are we talking? I got here when the nigga said that. I got here when the nigga said that there was no dialogue in the training. Nigga, ain't no talking and banging. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, no bullshit. Hey, keep it a buck, nigga. Keep it a buck, T-Money.
What is the criteria we talking about here?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
Keep it a buck, T-Money.
We were just talking about it basically as an overall series. Like just as an overall series.
As an overall series.
Like break it down in categories.
Like we talking about like story, world building, action, fighting, stuff like that.
Everything.
Really.
I mean, but
which we 100 like I literally even said like I've literally made it clear in terms of story and world building. Like One Piece definitely has that over Dragon Ball. Like it's a world of mystery. But I'm talking about doing the theme about, you know, self-improvement, and fights. Let's not even talk about fights because One Piece is off-screen heaven right now.
Oh my God! Stop with this shit. I feel more emotion in some of these One Piece fights than DBZ fights. When you have a nigga like Jiren who has one of the worst backstories in anime as your villain.
That's Dragon Ball.
That nigga's not a villain though.
We're not talking about Super. We're not talking about Super, but even
my bad. You're right. No Super. I'm sorry.
Even the slept-on fights in Dragon Ball, I could talk about 17 and Piccolo.
I'm not even gonna lie.
That fight is not slept on. That fight is legendary.
Okay, first of all, 17 and Piccolo was lit in the motherfucker.
That fight. People really do downplay that fight.
That was lit.
I truly think Arlong is a better villain than Cell, bro. Arlong.
What the fuck? Boy, you are high.
Oh my God, LPG, I'm trying to keep you on our side. You keep fucking up.
I love Arlong. That's one of my favorite characters in One Piece.
Arlong over Cell, my nigga?
My thing is like Cell's one of the few there's no one in One Piece that like had me scared like Cell was when he showed up drinking niggas. Like, come on.
Word, like Cell like made the shit like suspenseful. Like that shit was like a murder mystery type shit when Cell hit the scene.
Niggas just disappeared.
Yes, Spidey, I wouldn't tell you to shut up, by the way.
There's far more impactful scenes and moments in One Piece. Far more, bro. We've got. There's nothing really memorable about Dragon Ball.
I'm not going to talk about.
Hold on, Trey. I was just about to say you might want to rephrase memorable because everybody remember when he turned Super Saiyan for the first time.
Crazy. Super Saiyan 3? Nigga, Super Saiyan 3.
Nah, I'm talking about the very first time, my guy. Like
I hear you, but when my nigga grew the locks out, nigga, stop it.
Let me Super Saiyan that changed the face of anime forever.
Hey, hold on real quick. I know y'all remember this. Bro, come on, bro.
And you're talking about Fiji, you were talking about emotional impact. The guy just lost his best friend right in front of him. Like, I don't want to hear it. I really don't want to hear it.
Nigga, there is a lot of emotional impact. When this nigga Piccolo turned to Goku and said, "Hey, nigga, your son is not about that life, nigga," but he's facing the most dangerous nigga out here. You know what I'm saying? This nigga Goku and Piccolo like.
And then nigga gave him a senzu bean.
Like why would you give?
Hey Trent, and then nigga gave him a senzu bean. Come on now.
Chop your neck like Mihawk.
Come on now. Come on now.
I won't argue with you guys about
Did you hear me outside?
Like character development, like maybe shot or whatever. But let's not talk. If we're talking threat level, these niggas, each nigga that they face is about to destroy the universe.
That's honestly where like Dragon Ball
Z
falls off.
There's not a single scene in Dragon Ball Z that made me feel as shocked as when the whole crew just got negative by Kuma and sent across the fucking literally.
That shit was scary.
That was the most.
Bro, wait, are we talking about? Okay, let me address this threat level thing real quick. Y'all are always talking about how Katakuri was literally
automatically retired.
Let him finish.
Let me finish. When Goku pulls up after all that training, after biting the Ginyu Force thing, goes up against Frieza. Then Frieza tells this man, "I'm only gonna use 50% of my power to beat you," and he starts using a third. If you're telling me there's no more dire situation than that, where the main hero of the story is completely outclassed against his opponent, that isn't intimidating in the slightest. Y'all are crazy.
Bro, I can do you one better, bro. I can do you one better. Can you hear me?
Good.
We're gonna talk about the first couple episodes. Goku, the main character, the savior of the planet, is dead.
Yeah, I forgot.
And then you got two more people coming that are stronger than the person that resulted in his death. And they yo, what are we gonna do?
Bring up that point, bro.
Come on now.
No, but see, that's the problem with Dragon Ball. There's no the threat level is there, but
I didn't know what's the build-up.
I honestly felt I thought way more throw. I thought way more of a threat.
What's the build-up to that though?
What's the build-up? Like if we're talking arc for arc and we're talking about build-up, of course when we were back there in the Dragon Ball Z days, that shit was fire because we didn't know it. But let's
we also Trent, keep it a buck. Hey, hold on. Trent, keep it a buck. We didn't care.
What you say, bro?
Back in the day, we didn't care.
We was kids, bro. We was just
hold on. Pause. Who is eating potato chips, man?
I don't know who that nigga moving all that shit is. He gotta get
bro, that's me, man. I'm about to cook. You already know how it is, Vergo. I cook
Hey, Durson, though. I respect you, and I know you respect me, bro. Come on, don't do all that, bro.
All right, man. But look, man, you see, I gotta get the chicken and stuff going. I got you, bro.
Hey, my nigga. Hey, listen. For 2 years, my nigga, I know you been cooking on stream. We always got it how we got it. But you know, you gotta mute that hoe.
Vergo though, bro. The fact is, we act like we're not talking about One Piece. We know the story format. We know, in the end of the day, right now, looking back at it, there's really not a threat because we knew Luffy was gonna keep going. He had to keep going. And so in both animes, you can't really talk about threat.
That's a fact. That's a fact. I understand that.
When Goku was
that's complete bullshit, nigga. You can't be saying that
these
niggas got a whole Dragon Ball. Fucking, you can wish niggas back to life.
I didn't say. Hold on.
Hey, can I clear something up on that point?
Then they retconned the fucking rules around the Dragon Ball so many times.
They didn't retcon that. They didn't retcon. They just made newer
but let me say this though. Let me say this though. So how we're talking about all the Dragon Balls, which are Platinum has and all this stuff, but just take somebody that has never saw Dragon Ball Z, right? And just take them through it for episode 1 or whatever. Just like I said, they don't know. And then when we do find out about the Dragon Balls, all that stuff, Piccolo get capped.
No,
it's
if you watch Dragon
Dragon
Ball, you already knew. There's a whole series based on looking for the Dragon Ball.
Do you hear what I'm saying, though?
I got what you meant, Durson.
I get what you're saying, Durson, but that's only if they just watch Dragon Ball Z. We're talking about Dragon Ball as an entire series. If you watch Dragon Ball, you know that they have Dragon Balls that bring people back from the dead.
And that's what makes it better. And that's what makes it better. Because look, if you know that the Dragon Balls goddamn can break people, you know that they got this reset button. And then when Piccolo dies, just yo, what are we gonna do now?
Exactly. Even when you do have the reset button, you can go look at the Saiyan saga when Nappa's throttling these kids. He's literally biting everybody, and Goku's trying to run on his way to Snake Way, trying to get there in time to be there to save his friends. There's a lot of urgency there. It's like it's not that easy. Just we got these balls that reset everything. Like there are people who can die. No, but those people have died twice in that scenario to not be able to use them.
Y'all niggas are being disrespectful as fuck. Cause 16 never came back because he was an android, so he stayed dead. And y'all don't remember 16?
Nah, hey, but do you really care about that nigga though?
He's a fucking piece of metal, bro.
Wait, you're gonna put you're not gonna talk that way about 16, bro. He's one of the best characters in that arc, bro. He's a goon.
Cool. But someone in the chat said Duffy games over Cell games, and I've got a vouch, bro. That is a
the Duffy. The what?
The Duffy game.
Who is that in the chat? Is that Logia? That's probably Logia being stupid.
No, that was
I felt
Risen
more
Hockey.
urgency when he was in a fucking bird cage. When he was in a bird cage, I felt way more fucking urgency than I did for Soul Games.
That's crazy. You're crazy. You're crazy.
Flamingo was literally sitting down saying, "Niggas, go fetch, go get him. I'ma pay you."
Okay, and you had Cell. You had Cell literally spawn like mini me's and go have him kick Goku and Vegeta's butts.
Like my nigga
you want to talk about casualness? Cell waited 10 days and said, "Yo, everybody, come run the phase."
Yeah, he told that nigga Vegeta go get stronger.
Go, yo, exactly. Come back. You're not ready, young buck. Like that shit was real.
I feel that. But when I say urgency, I mean Dressrosa was one day. We were chilling there and we was watching them going through that shit.
But that's why That's why Dressrosa wasn't that good, or not. I won't say that good, but that's why Dressrosa is less.
Has issues. Yeah. It's paced very like it's got a fucked up piece. It's got fucked up pacing.
And like you said, 10 days, bro, and he had niggas shook. He blew a hole through this nigga Vegeta's son, his future son.
Facts.
Hey, I got a question. Were y'all really worried about that?
He blew up a whole city just to give a public service announcement. Like, yo,
yeah, please stop it, bro. Cell's that goon.
He had niggas shook out the womb, out the caterpillar chrysalis.
Come on, bro. When Duffy popped Law and everyone thought he was dead, that was crazy scene, bro. Everyone thought this nigga died. He popped him like 30 times.
You don't remember when Cell one shot? You don't remember when Cell one shot Vegeta with that elbow? You forgot about that?
You remember when Goku went down?
Do you know why I don't feel a sense of urgency in Dragon Ball Z? Because it's got that same formula.
Hey, that's the bet, bro. Niggas got Dragon Balls and Senzu beans. Nigga, Ace not coming back. Whitebeard not coming back. It's a fact, Big Dot. It's a fact, Big Dot.
Hey, Vergo, you might have just jinxed it, bro. You literally might have just jinxed it.
I think you're forgetting. I think you're forgetting when Boo came to the afterlife and was going to kill everybody.
Yeah, we can talk about I forgot to talk about the Boo saga. Did we not forget when Piccolo told this man Boo? When this man told Boo, "Hey, listen, we need some more time. Why don't you go kill some people and then come back?" The man Boo killed everybody on Earth. Human extinction attack. You tell me that isn't intimidating to you?
And everyone came back. Now what?
No, because listen, this is why it wasn't. Like, at least for me, this is why it wasn't that crazy. Because as long as Piccolo is alive, not even Piccolo. As long as Dende is alive, it doesn't matter if they sacrifice the whole.
Those people can die though. Those people can die though. That's the thing though.
They're gonna find any in the mix and replace them.
I mean, no, that's not true, because that's why they had to get Dende, because he was the only one of the Nameks on New Namek that could make Dragon Balls.
What about when they broke up the lookout and they thought Dende was dead, and they're like, "Oh wait, we gotta find Dende because if he's dead, it's over." What about that point in the story?
He's gonna kill him in the afterlife.
Dende was dead.
I mean,
but I've got to explain one thing. The reason why I don't feel a sense of urgency and why I always think, Goku's definitely or the protagonists are definitely gonna come on top. The reason why I think that is because we had Frieza, who was fucking negative in planets, and then 2 man-made androids were way fucking stronger than him. Like, how does that make sense, bro?
Wait, no, because well, that's the thing. You need I hate when people do that. I remember Jay Hudson said, like, man, Goku died to a man-made bomb. Like, okay, I get all that. That's great. That's cool. That's cool and all, but it's just like how y'all give Vegapunk so much clout. Like, Dr. Zero is way ahead of his time.
Okay,
simple as that.
People misunderstand.
In Dragon Ball, there has never been an L. There has never been a true L. Whereas in One Piece, we've had Marineford, Sabaody, we've had L's.
True L. You have people in here who still say Dofi beat Luffy. You have people in here who say Katakuri beat Luffy. Like, let us not do that. If we're talking about definite L.
I'm saying it's a good L though. I'm talking about L's are good for the story. It's good in terms of.
I can hear you, bro. They just talking.
Can I clarify something real quick about the guy that was talking shit about the androids and how he didn't feel like it was a threat? Remember how the androids was made? That boy, Dr. Gero, has been watching Goku for like his entire goddamn life. He's been watching this man grow into a planet-busting force, and it's like, yo, my intent is to stop him. Let me build something of that caliber to stop him. So the androids were made specifically to fight niggas of that caliber. So
a dude literally came from another timeline to tell these guys how dangerous these guys were. Like, what are you talking about?
And another thing is that it's a lot less apparent in the it's a lot less apparent in the anime, but ki is a huge part of their like how strong people become. And the androids had unlimited ki, so that's why they were so strong, because they never could deplete their ki. That's why another reason why they were so powerful. And again, Cell had the cells of everybody, so of course he'd be powerful.
Right. Can we all just agree that Cell was that dude? Like, he was just that dude.
So, he's my favorite villain out of the whole villain cast.
Like a little side note, I would have much rather them bring back Cell for Super than Frieza.
I agree.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, lately I don't know, because I've been rewatching. Frieza was still terrifying.
I just feel like Frieza was overused, and maybe that's what made me feel like Frieza was overused,
I agree.
I don't know.
Nah, I feel like Cell's a good villain, but he don't hold a candle to One Piece villains. I'm not even gonna lie.
I find him a lot better than a lot of One Piece villains.
I feel like there's some great One Piece villains. I feel like Cell's one of the best villains in anime, if I'm honest.
Like, it's not even like this is the one villain. He's the one villain who actually shows a lot of respect to like the main dude. Like anytime he was fighting Vegeta, Trunks, any of these guys, he was like, man, I can't wait to fight Goku. He's such a great person.
I'm not on the One Piece. I'm on the One Piece side. I'm not on the DBZ side, but I will definitely say that Cell. I really respect intelligent villains.
I'm gonna my bad, bro.
The thing is, though, with a character, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say I only disagree as far as the Dragon Ball Z ones being. I guess I don't even know if I disagree, but the thing is with Dragon Ball Z, them niggas come and like you said, yeah, you pay homage to Goku. That's where pretty much niggas come to the planet to fight Goku. You know what I'm saying? That's really what that is. But and that's just a power. That's just like a thing of power. When it comes to One Piece, you know, when you talk about Doflamingo, when you talk about Big Mom, things like that, they have a whole scheme and power structure and game that they're playing because they can't just blow up the fucking planet. You know what I'm saying? Literally. They have shit to actually accomplish.
I agree. I get where you're coming from in that aspect. But what I'm saying about Cell is because like Frieza, true, he could blow up a planet casually, but like Frieza, Majin Buu, these guys never showed like respect to Goku. They always demeaned him, looked down on him. Where Cell, Cell's always acknowledged how powerful Goku was. Like the moment Goku just teleports to meet up with Goku teleports to see how he stacks up against him. Cell literally was like, wow, like what an honor. Like I'm in your presence. Like, what's going on, Goku? Like, are you ready for this? Like he's excited. Like, and that's the Saiyan biology in him, which makes him such a great character. That's what I love about Cell. No one shows respect to Goku like he does.
Actually, respect in Dragon Ball Z. Like he's the only villain that.
I personally think Frieza is better than Cell.
He was so upset. Like,
and Frieza.
Like this dude was
a better villain than Frieza.
This dude was truly upset. This dude was truly upset when Goku quit. It wasn't like he was shocked because, like, dude, this is Goku. Why is he quitting? Like, this is the guy. I reached this power. I reached this limit. So I could fight this guy and he quits on me? Like, what's going on?
His son was kicking his ass, though.
I get where you're coming from, bro, but I don't see the villain and the antagonist in that, bro. The antagonist is a direct opposing force to a protagonist. Luffy was literally... I think Luffy's a bad example. I think Crocodile is a better example in this case because this nigga Luffy tried to kill this guy. He killed Luffy 3 times, bro.
Hey, Trent, I'm at your dome after the stream, bro.
Wait. Hey, can I say one thing real quick?
What you saying, nigga?
No, nigga.
Knock you out.
Cell was made to kill Goku. Like, what?
I didn't hear what the fuck
I was just about to say that, Spidey. Like,
my bad, Dirk. And Frieza killed his entire race. Like, there was a blood feud with this. Like, what do you mean, like, about not being opposing forces?
And Goku and Vegeta definitely have opposing. Both of them were after the Dragon Balls. That's internal conflict right there. 2 opposing sides clashing.
Cell was such a dope concept.
Goku did not give a fuck about Frieza killing the Saiyans.
Virgo, what y'all
No,
saying?
no, he did. He
I
even
said I'm gonna fuck
acknowledged
you
it.
up for that.
He did. He did.
That statement.
Never mind.
He said in the name of the Saints, in the name of the Saints
Yeah,
you
fuck you,
killed,
Trent.
in the name of the Saints you killed, I will.
I didn't hear what you
Nah, he didn't even say.
Talking about blue.
He said in the name of all of the innocents that you've killed. He didn't single out the Saints.
No, he
That was
also
a
said
Vegeta
Saints,
thing.
bro. No, he also said Saints.
That was
I'm
a
dead serious.
Vegeta thing.
Even in the flashback, even in the Vegeta flashback where he has that, like when Goku starts doubting himself, like he says, give me some of that Saiyan pride that like our people had in order to beat this guy. Like he acknowledged.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It was a Vegeta thing. It wasn't Goku.
Yeah, but Goku did have some of that with the thirst for battle. But what I liked about Goku is even in that Cell games, he came down and told niggas off rip. He was like, "Yo, I might not be able to beat this nigga." You know what I'm saying? Like,
he knew full well he wasn't. That's what's crazy. And everybody that 10-day rest period. When Goku was telling these people, yeah, guys, I'm not sure. I'm really not sure if I can do it. I was like, man, what are you smiling about? Get in the time chamber and like, come on.
If you're talking about like an imposing forces, you actually should have stayed with Dofi, because the thing is, Dofi is literally everything Luffy hates about a person.
Someone says that was a filler.
Hold on, bro. Hold on. He's someone that literally takes away and controls.
Oh, the Vegeta flashback? Yeah, I think it is filler.
He's someone that takes away and controls like everyone's freedom and shit. And Luffy's whole thing is it's himself being free. So that's literally opposing from what he wants initially from like his dream and shit. So I feel like he's like in that aspect he's better than Crocodile.
I think Dofi's my favorite villain. Dofi's my favorite villain in One Piece because of that. Like he really personifies, like he has the backstory for it, and just his character overall like fits that mold.
Even with like parallels and shit, like he's just Lesser Dragon, Luffy's the D, like the enemies and shit like that. Like, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So do y'all think y'all have argued enough on this point?
You think so?
I don't know. I think we've said that One Piece is much better.
Hell no.
Damn.
Hey,
I wouldn't say much better.
I don't think it's much better, bro. I do enjoy One Piece more.
Hey, I'm about to go ahead and blow it out of the water, man. We ain't talking about Dragon Ball, bro. We're going to talk about Z. We know about Dragon Ball, bro.
You can talk about Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball.
Yeah, if we're talking about just Dragon Ball.
Super.
We ain't talking about Super because the niggas want to be protected.
If you want a final conclusion.
Huh?
You also need to bring in Super if you want a final conclusion. You
well, Super's manga been hitting lately.
Yeah, Super manga.
Maybe.
Who has it been hidden, children?
I'm gonna go ahead and say this is controversial as hell. This is why Dragon Ball Super is bad part 2. But what's it called? Virgo. I'm sorry, but the Dragon Ball Super manga has been performing a lot better than One Piece mid right now.
Hey Mo, I'm also sorry you're
I'm gonna say real quick, Logia, if you're there in the chat, you're probably not, but I'm just telling you right now, the Dragon Ball Super manga is better than the One Piece mid right now. That's all I'm saying.
Hey, you call it One Piece mid, like niggas not gonna get mad.
Can y'all hear me?
You're ridiculous.
I'm about to name a villain that's better than like 70% of the villains in One Piece, man. Demon King Piccolo.
Oh, that's not even close. That's not even close.
I thought you were gonna say Swag Kage.
Okay. Swag Kage made his own holiday, bro. Come on now. That boy sent out goons to kill anybody.
I don't think you people understand what a villain's supposed to be, but literally.
What is a villain supposed to be?
Doflamingo is a far better villain than all the guys you've talked about, bro.
That's
what is a villain supposed to be then, bro?
What's a villain supposed to be?
Yeah, I'm gonna say you the one that just insulted everybody's intelligence by telling us we don't know what a villain is. But
so what's the villain supposed to be, bro? You got the floor.
Well, an antagonist is a direct opposing force to a protagonist, whereas a villain is different in the sense that it's just a bad person.
That's what Demon King Piccolo was, cuz.
Yeah, and Doflamingo is a far worse person.
I mean, Demon King Piccolo came back. He killed everybody that opposed him, took over the world, and named it after himself.
Didn't he kill Krillin?
Doflamingo literally made the kingdom.
He did. His subordinate killed Krillin. Yeah,
okay, right.
Yeah.
Doflamingo literally made the king of a city.
Tambourine got bodies, bro. He murked Krillin.
It's taking over the world.
He murked Nom.
That's the thing, though. The scale of Dragon Ball Z and One Piece is
Oh,
completely
recipe,
different.
my nigga,
In
Dom.
Dragon Ball Z, you can take over the world. In One Piece, you can't. That's why you can't really scale with them. In terms of doing fucked up shit, Doflamingo has literally made a king of a city.
Y'all niggas just meatheads.
Frieza wiped out an entire race based off of a prophecy. That's something that could have happened.
Man,
Like
Frieza had planets, bro.
It wasn't even a prophecy. It was just a fear. That nigga was literally shook.
He literally, and he's a racist dude who caused mass genocide because of the possibility of these guys teaming up and opposing him.
Yeah, and also even without that, he just killed people for the fun of it anyway.
His motive is literally his motive is literally to go to the Celestial Dragons, who he was once part of, and his literal motive is to fuck up their lives. That's what his literal dream is. He popped his own dad and took his head back to the fucking Marijoy. Like, I don't. It's cool.
I mean, that's cool, but like, he wasn't doing that to an entire race of people. It's like he was enslaving the Tontada. He wasn't killing them all.
But you can't. It's a complete different scale. In Dragon Ball Z, you can literally blow up a planet with one attack. That's not the same in One Piece, bro. It's completely different verse.
Yeah, but that's why we brought up King Piccolo. My bad. That's why we brought him up.
Yeah,
he took over the world, and he wasn't going to blow up a planet. He literally took over the world, like what you're saying. Like how Dovey took over Dressrosa. This guy had the whole world under his grasp. Just easy like that.
He's one of the few villains that actually use the Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
And then killed the dragon, and then kills the dragon afterwards.
Yeah,
somebody else can do
facts,
it.
Yeah,
I respect that.
That was menacing. Like he literally took away the fucking.
He said, "Y'all ain't getting this. If y'all are gonna beat me, it's gonna be without these. That's how y'all gonna beat me."
And let's think more into the story. Let's think more into the story, right? We seen Demon King Piccolo. He did all that, right? And then he was defeated. And then Goku went to go train again, right? and he met Kami, who looked just like Demon King Piccolo. And it's just like, as a viewer, you're just shocked. Like,
yeah, you're like, oh no.
What is this? No. Like, it was just layers upon layers, my guy. And like, you can't tell me that just went GOAT storytelling.
Hey, chill out, Trent.
I'm just saying, that's a real nigga.
Word.
The loafers alone.
The loafers alone put a nigga on another tier. That's a real nigga.
I kind of feel like there's villains like that. Not just like Dofi. Not just like Dofi and shit. Like you can even talk like Hardy Jones and shit. Like his reason.
He's such a dense character.
Wait, no, Hody? We're using Hody? Don't use Hody. I'll bring up his quote. I will bring up what he. Oh my god! Don't use Hody.
His reason for being
Hody is my favorite villain in One Piece.
Yeah, his reason for being.
Hey, that's good. Hey, hold on. Hey, don't listen to Durson. He a fuck nigga.
No,
hold on. Let me
he like him because he is racist as Durson. That's why.
Yeah, because I relate to him the most. Like y'all
niggas both racist.
His reason for being evil was literally just because he doesn't like people. Like he has no reason at all.
No, no, you're not about to do that. You're not about to do that.
Asked so he's like most people.
I'll tell
like
you.
Most people then.
I would tell you exactly what his motivation for being evil was because he's seen it. You know what I'm saying? He's seen the systematic oppression of his people and all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's when I say that I relate to him the most, right? Because when they asked him, what has humans done to you? He said, absolutely nothing. Just like me. I say fuck white people all the time. What have they done to me? Absolutely nothing. But I've seen what they've done to my people and what has happened over the goddamn years.
Shit.
And you can't tell me that ain't like real. Like I'm pretty sure there's a lot of other motherfuckers that relate in that way. Because that is an actual like thing,
that's an actual mindset. But
come on now.
It was just executed poorly, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
he was going on and on about human oppression, and I get what you're saying. Like he's seen it happen to his people, but for him to literally sit there and be like, "Yeah, well, they ain't never do nothing to me. I'm just salty about everything." I don't know. It rubbed me the wrong way.
I don't think it's so. I think that just puts some respect that Hody Jones himself wasn't wrapped all the way tight. You know what I'm saying? Like no normal person would go that far as to do that. But he himself is a fucking lunatic.
Come on, man. We've got Blackbeard who literally spent 20 years plotting. This guy literally spent 20 years plotting. His master plan, he literally goes and impel down 40 chapters before he pulls up Marineford. We're going to do something that will shake the world. He does something that no one can ever do in a verse. And he does it.
The thing about Blackbeard and shit, I think it's harder to talk about him because we know like he's gonna be more like greater in the future.
Yeah, in the end game, yeah.
Like
We don't have a backstory of him yet. Once you get a backstory, he's gonna.
But so far, like what he's playing and shit, like
he's gonna
be set up to be like you gotta wait.
My stars. Oh god. Hey Trent, Fire Force is mid.
Stop. Okay, now this is, can I speak on it real quick? Can I speak on this, nigga?
Fire Force is mid, bro.
If you talk about the contents of the anime, I'm not even gonna argue. But when this nigga says that this theme song ain't some of the most fire shit out there, opening
bro.
That theme song is lit. He's right.
Nigga, the build up,
it's the second best one this
year.
The
crescendo, nigga.
It's the second best one this year. I told you.
Stop.
We're talking about the original
the first
Dragon Ball Z.
No. We're talking about Fire Force.
I think Fire Force's opening is better than
thank you. That's a real.
Hey Waldo, it's been nice talking to you, bro.
This is so much. Listen, Vergo, I've caught up to Demon Slayer just recently. I like it a lot better than Fire Force, but the opening for Fire Force is
I'm not talking about the contents. That's up for debate. Even though Demon Slayer.
And when that bitch hit that high note, you're like, I'm like, damn,
nigga, when she said, I don't know if it was a she or a he, but when he said,
that was
I said, God damn.
That's a nigga. That's a nigga.
Yo, I haven't watched Demon Slayer or Fire Force, so I couldn't tell you.
Go to the opening, bro.
Oh, my stars.
Let it go, bro.
Trent got them vocals.
That nigga said, I said, God damn.
I've only watched like 5 episodes of Fire Force, but every episode I watched it intro.
Man, I've been enjoying Dr. Stone lately, bro.
I heard it's dope.
Okay, yeah, I've been enjoying that shit, bro. I ain't even gonna cap.
Hey, but you know,
I gotta get into more anime.
I think it's time for us to round it up. I appreciate everybody coming through. That was a really actually fun debate. Crazy enough. I thought it was gonna be.
I want everyone to leave.
Don't tell me I wasn't in the stream no more. Don't tell me I wasn't in the stream no more.
Shut your bitch ass up. Why you making about you?
Yeah, you gotta do. Say for me.
I just want everyone to leave with the knowledge that
Easy, you did not do the One Piece side justice. Be quiet. Alright, this nigga's like, alright, I'm on the One Piece side, but let me shit on it for like 10 minutes.
Nah, because it's been pissing me off.
You weren't shitting on it. I was like,
Wano has been pissing me off, man. I'm not gonna lie. I have to speak my thoughts. Dragon Ball Z is some mid though. It's not even comparable to One Piece.
I wish you would have explained.
Hey, thank you for coming through.
Bro,
if y'all like it, like the stream. If y'all not subbed already, subscribe. If y'all fuck with the vision, you fuck with everybody here. Come through often. We do this all the time. Y'all have a wonderful night. Y'all know what the fuck it is. We out.
Good shit.